Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to The Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And it brings me great pleasure to introduce to you Alma Nexhipi.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and let me tell you a little bit about Alma. She is known on social media as Alma Lightworker. Was born in Albania. She moved, studied, and lived in the USA for 21 years. She has her bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics from Westchester University of Pennsylvania. In her private practice, formerly located in Massachusetts, where she offered nutrition, face readings, and birth readings, tongue ren healing, and energy clearings based on Chinese medicine, tarot reading and classes, Reiki healing and classes, Akashic records reading, healings and classes there too, meditation healings with the Akashic records, panel paintings, and she is also a trained medical medium. She trained in the USA from some of the biggest names in the field like Tina Zion, Jean Hanna, Christina Cross, etc. So currently in Tirana, Albania, her services can be offered in person and on the phone and online. And we will give you all of the social medias inside the description here for this podcast. So I'd like to welcome beautiful, beautiful Alma.
Well, that was an amazing introduction of me. I have never been introduced like that before. Thank you so much for having me.
It's so wonderful to have you. And I love the fact that your modalities have an expansive view of how you approach spirituality.
It kind of felt like each piece of the puzzle where it should be. I don't think that I had much to do with it. I truly believe that it was chosen for me. When I trained in Reiki, I realized that that can be combined with other things, not necessarily during the Reiki, okay?
Mhm.
But I figured like I can combine energy clearing with Reiki. Energy clearing is based in Chinese medicine in the same 5 principles as acupuncture. And I always also listen to what my clients are asking for. And based on that, I experiment with a few things and I come up with a combination. But most importantly, for everything that I do, I always consult with my Akashic records.
Beautiful.
So basically, you say a prayer. It's a secret, sacred prayer. I say that prayer. I open my own book of the Akashic records, and the Akasha guides me as to what is needed from me in that moment. Okay. So, and then I create, I confirm it with them. I can combine this service with this other service because they tell me this is what people are going to come to you for. This is what they need. In a spirituality-based business, yes, the same business rules apply, but at the same time, if you are connected with spirit, you are going to know that spirit brings you people that have the same problem. Okay, at the same time. So everything is a theme. For example, my weekly clients would have the theme, everybody's looking for a job. Next week could be everybody's having health issues. And if a theme keeps repeating itself a little bit too often, that is my signal that maybe I am also going through that, and also I may need to look into it. Because sometimes as light workers, they are focused on others, and we often forget to address our own issues and to take care of ourselves. And what I noticed is that light workers don't really know how to take care of themselves. They don't really know how to ask for help. And we need to create better boundaries between ourselves and others. We need to learn how to receive.
Exactly.
And it took me a long time for myself as well to learn how to receive. Because every time I hear someone has a problem, whether this is an acquaintance, a client or someone that is very, very close to me, I cannot help it. My first instinct would be, what can I do to help? Okay. But not everybody wants help. Sometimes people just want to talk, and so that you can listen. So it took me a long time to learn that, but I am very, very glad that I learned that. Because as a light worker, when my attention goes constantly to others, my energy is going outwards and I have no energy left for myself. So creating those boundaries, it's very good. And as I got trained with the Akashic Records in particular, I learned about ego, because I had no idea the ego can go both ways. Too much ego and too little ego. Okay, we always are taught to be humble. Okay, not too much ego. But at the same time, nobody told us that we need to have ego to a happy medium. Too little ego, it's not good either. Like for a long time, nobody trained me in terms of what prices to charge, how to market. As I said, everything kind of fell into place. I offered something, somebody was happy, who told somebody else, who told someone else. Okay, so I didn't have to pay anyone for marketing or advertisement or any big names. I was just a little thing operating from a little place, because I had no idea that the world of spirituality and metaphysics was as big as grandiose. People had shows, people had written books. I didn't even know the difference between religion and spirituality.
Okay.
And I had a spirituality-based business. I had no idea. In Albania, growing up, we did not grow up with religion. So in many ways that served me well, okay? And in other ways it didn't, but I ended up focusing on what that taught me, because I came into the world of spirituality without any preconceptions about God. I came without any preconceptions about what Christianity was or the Muslim faith was, because these were the two predominant faiths in Albania. And I just keep listening to this inner voice. Okay, but sometimes you know that it's you talking to yourself, and sometimes it's just something else that takes over. You know, when you're crossing the street, there's a little voice that tells you like, wait, don't cross the street now. Or
careful.
Yeah, or it's like sometimes the dreams can be very, very weird and at times even scary, but then it happens. And as a child, I was puzzled because I didn't know what that meant. And people who had religious books, because again, we didn't know the difference between spirituality and religion, they would hide the books. So as a way of protection, people that I visited in my family, they would take out the cover of the book so nobody would know what the title was or what the book was about. So it looks like an old book with the pages ripped. But I recall this one time, my mother suffered from kidney disease. And on the train, she made this older guy who was treating people with old folks medicine with teas and herbs, everything that he found naturally grown in Albania. Albania is famous for medicinal plants. And he had this little book with numbers and so, and he would tell you your destiny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my mom and my grandfather invited him to come over so he could give my mom, herbs and stuff for her kidney problem. And I remember he pulls out these books, okay, where they can tell your destiny. And it felt like a game and we were all laughing. But my message was, and I don't think I was even 7 years old just yet. Okay, I knew how to read, but I wasn't just 7 years old just yet. And my message was, you're too shy and you need to speak up. And that was true, because in many ways, people see me on YouTube, they think I'm not shy, but growing up, I was shy, especially around my family. In school, I was completely different. In school, I was outspoken. I love the environment of school. I still love school today.
Mhm.
Okay, but at home I was very quiet and very set back and very shy. So that got embedded in my memory. I didn't know what to make with it. And his treatments worked for my mom. Okay, and that was my first introduction to medicinal plants.
Okay.
When I came in the States, I was just a regular student, living my life, partying. I didn't focus on these type of things. And then when I got to my 30s, it felt like something just woken in me. It's like
Mhm.
something that I knew I had forgotten. Everything that I was doing, I was going to dance every weekend and shopping. I had a very balanced life. I was going to the gym. I had so many friends and so many activities to do. My life was filled up every day with activities. I barely had a day to rest. Okay. But it felt empty. And it wasn't the kind of emptiness that a relationship would feel. It just felt different.
Yes.
I
Yes.
guess I got into this soul search and I started to ask questions about people who have hurt me in my life. Why is it
Mhm.
that they did that? What was the purpose? Because I could not understand that people from whom you need protection and people who you love can suddenly turn against you, especially friends. Okay. And I started to ask, what is it about me? How come I never suspected that a group of friends would be fake friends and deep down they would hate me? And I had no idea because ever since I was a little girl in my family, we were taught to help anyone in need, anyone who wasn't able to help themselves. We are taught to give.
Right.
Yeah. And my grandfather, in his time, he was financially well off. He had a couple of businesses. When communism came, they took everybody's private properties and they made it a state, a government property. So we got left with nothing, but they had professions, they had skills. They still continue to have, like a secret business at home and then their daily job. So we were still financially off better than most people because they worked. It wasn't just granted to them. Okay. So even in those circumstances, I was still taught to help others.
Mm.
I could not understand why some people had every chance in the world to help me or someone else in need, and they just went their way and they didn't have this heaviness in their conscience.
Right.
Okay, because it's a terrible thing to deal with that heaviness in your conscience. It sits in your chest, and
Mhm.
and even if nobody would ask me for help, if I knew I could help somebody and I didn't have time to help them, I was to school and then from school straight to work, and then I barely had time to study.
Mm.
Okay, and compared to everybody else, I was the girl who had less of everything. I didn't have a family. I was an international student, so I didn't have a green card or an American citizenship living in America. And I didn't think of it at the time. When I grew older and I matured, I noticed that I should have thought of that. Okay, how come I never thought of asking people for help? How come my attention was always external? And in my spiritual quest, I learned that everybody has an opportunity here to learn and to grow, because after all, we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience.
Mhm.
We make a decision whether to do something intentionally or not intentionally, because I don't like to call it to do something bad or to do something good, because the world is not black and white. It's not a straight line between good and
Oh,
bad.
it's not.
Okay. I made a decision early on. I was going to help when I had an opportunity, and I wasn't going to um, suffer internally because I couldn't help everybody else. Whoever I was
Mhm.
going to help, I was going to help with an open heart. Okay. And it was my way of saying thank you to God.
Okay.
Okay, so I did not want anyone else to suffer like I did. Some people have cancer or tumors and they come back from that journey very bitter. Okay, and I had a tumor at some point of my life. I did not come back from it bitter. I understand it's a human body. It's nothing to do with God. Okay. I do have my fights with God or the Akashic records. We don't agree on everything. Sometimes I just don't open the Akashic records because they told me something to do. I'm so mad and I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't do this. Or they give me a different perspective and I'm like, in my human evolution, I'm here and they're here and I can't get up to understand that perspective.
Yes.
Okay, or it's my brain can accept it, or it's my ego can accept it, or in my heart I'm like, there's gotta be something else. Yeah, it's a constant going back and forth.
It absolutely is. And so
Yeah.
I'd love to explore a little bit more about the Akashic records because not everybody understands what that is, how you open them, what dimension it thereby lays, etc. So let's explore that
Yes.
a little bit.
The Akashic records is the dimension that is closer to God. This is a dimension, an energetic dimension where everything is being recorded, everything that has happened, everything that is currently happening, and future possibilities. So the future is recorded there as well. The beautiful thing about the Akashic records is that they respect your free will. Human beings are born with free will. The rule is that because human beings are born with free will, nothing is written in stone. Okay, and if you don't like something, they will give you steps to follow so you can change it. They will give you options. It's not a tarot reading where a person opens cards and they tell you the meaning. It's mostly about advice and guidance. Yes, there are some predictions that come with it, but the main focus of it is to give guidance to your human soul. And for example, if you have a yes or no question, they're not going to tell you, should I move out, yes or no? They're not going to tell you no. They're not going to order you, okay? Or yes, this. Instead, they're going to explore both options. If you decide to move from your current home, they're going to tell you the advantages of that, the disadvantages of that, how this move may impact the rest of your life. If you decide to stay, the same thing. They will tell you both the good and the bad, the advantages, the disadvantages. You may ask further questions to get more information on that. But now that you know both scenarios, what's going to happen, out of your free will, you can make your decision. And if you still are in doubt on what to do, again, you can address that with the Akashic records, and the Akashic records may tell you where you stand right now. Okay, we think that this will be better for you, but they're not going to force that on you. What the Akashic records do, they would give you a baby step to do. And if you choose, again, it's about choosing. If you choose to do that baby step, that's how you ensure a prediction coming true. Okay, and they will give you details, as many details as you like, step by step. They will give you advice and guidance. Okay, so, and it feels, the energy is very light and airy, it's very uplifting. Often when you do your own records, when you open your own records or the records of others, moments after that, my energy is so light and airy, like I need a moment to come down on earth. And I'm in such a good mood. It's like, it's fascinating because I get mental, they send me mental pictures. I can see somebody's life or my own life in a past lifetime, centuries ago. I can get a glimpse of the future. Very often for me is they send me feeling. When somebody asks a question, boom, I get this heavy feeling. And my job is simply to say, I get a heavy feeling around that. Okay.
Yes.
So with the Akashic records, is what you get is what it is. There's no room for interpretation. You are just a channel. Whatever you see, you have to describe. Whatever you feel, you have to describe. Whatever you hear, you have to say word per word. Okay. And on the other hand, I'm also meant to help my client with their question. Even if they don't know where to begin with the questions, the Akashic records already know what is it that you need to know, and they will start talking. Okay. And I will ask in my mind, very often this is a mental conversation. Okay, and I ask additional questions. What is my highest purpose in this life? What is my soul's higher purpose? What am I here to do? And that is that question that I was trying to answer all those years, that emptiness. Okay, I didn't have a name for it. I studied face reading. And
And so let's talk about that a little bit too, because a lot of people go, okay, she can access the cosmic realms. Let's actually talk about accessing the cosmic realms, because that first projection out.
Face reading, again, is based in Chinese medicine. Millenniums of years ago, they noticed that people who looked similar to one another with similar features would develop similar diseases. So they started to study people's faces, and they came up with this same system that we call face reading. The scientific name of it is physiognomy.
Okay.
So, physiognomy, and it's not about the facial movements. That is a different science. This is simply about the shape of each and every feature. It's a little bit more complicated than it looks. Okay. Oh, look at you. You're like,
I can take off my glasses.
So, yeah, and I will tell you something about you. Yeah, so it's how you feel that will determine how certain features will develop in your face.
Okay.
And in face reading, we love little lines, we love wrinkles, because only a genuine feeling can develop those. It's a map of who you are. So basically, I discovered human beings are born with instructions. It's in our faces. So ears develop from, or rather indicate the ages 0 to 3. Okay, it's about how big they are, the earlobes, how flexible or bendable they are. So there's different features connected to different ages. So and everybody has a few major themes. So the major theme in your face has to deal with having a very good logic, but also intuitive. And it's a combination of both. The way how you approach solving a problem, it's not only logical, but also you have a very good intuition about it. Another major theme is creativity. And when I say creativity, doesn't mean that you have to be an artist to create something. You can be very creative with coming up with solutions.
Right.
Because there's different ways to be creative. You don't have to be in a creative related field, which is a major misconception. That's why I take my time to explain this. And this is particularly connected to your forehead. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You tend to be private, even though to many people you may seem to be very how should I put it, out there. You're a little bit more inward than people believe you to be.
I'm not an extrovert. I actually am an introvert. Yes.
And that is important for you, because otherwise you cannot function if you don't have your private time. And privacy is very important. That's the time, your private time, when you recharge your battery. For you, it would be, for example, because there's also other themes here going on, kicking off your shoes, first things you do, and get yourself comfortable, or maybe putting your feet up, being in a horizontal position. Okay, so or if your choice of clothing would be flowy, or with bluish and very watery flowy.
Yes.
And please, it's like your face is screaming, do not limit me by time or conditions. It's like, allow my freedom. It's and it's not even about somebody putting a restriction on you. The moment you feel that, oh, this doesn't give me the freedom I want, that's not a situation for you. You are probably going to walk out of that situation at some point.
Exactly.
Like, setting your own hours and having that freedom, for example, that would be perfect for you. Okay. I also noticed that your eyebrows seem to be around. I just got mine done yesterday, especially
which are beautiful.
Your eyebrows are around, and that is an indicator of somebody whose first instinct is, how may I help you? Oriented toward keeping the harmony among people. Harmony, balance is important. How may I help you? Always focused towards helping others. And you are very good in keeping secrets from others. People would confide in you. Okay, maybe you don't know why this is happening. Okay, but whether you are
a good coach, I'll tell you that.
even before you became that, okay, just you being you, you would always end up attracting people who would trust you with something to share with you. Okay, because you have that capacity to hold confidences, which is a great quality for anyone who likes to become a psychologist, for example. Okay, so this in you expresses, I can tell from the shape of your eyes and the under eye area and other features. But in me, in my face, if you notice, like my upper lip is fuller than, I'm sorry, it's thinner than my lower lip.
Lower lip. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my face, exactly the same thing. The ability to hold confidences is it's an expression of my lips. Okay. So in face routine, we are look for example, if I'm looking at your eyes, I'm going to look for the inner corner of your eye, the outer corner, the shape, whether the eyes are like in a linear eye, straight or around. So there's many different angles that I would look the same feature. Okay, and what if a feature is larger in your face, that feature may be too small in someone else's face. So it's not a clean cut. For example, a small nose means this and a big nose means this. It doesn't have opposite meanings. Okay, it just has a different meaning. So we have to be very, very careful, because it is such an intimate process reading somebody's face. And if we are not careful, and if it doesn't come across as something being said with love, we may end up influencing that person in a negative way.
Yes, it's
that's
very
why, yeah, and that's why in many of these spiritual practices, you have to be at least 18 years old.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, even in the Akashic records, you have to be 18 years old to get a reading, because under 18, you still live at home with your parents, you know. So the same legal laws apply, even in face reading. You have to be at least 18 years old.
So then here you are, you start with face reading, and then you move into the Akashic records with the next modality.
So our homework was to hand in 10 case studies, and one of those was we had to study our own face. And there was this chapter who talked about people who are naturally psychically gifted. Doesn't mean that they have to be a psychic as a profession, but they're naturally intuitive and psychic. And the whole classroom, there were about 30 people that all turned around to look at me. Imagine 30 people turning around to look at you. I'm like, what? Me? The classical, you know, psychic face. I'm like, me? So there were two body types.
Right.
Okay, where in the category of naturally intuitive, psychically gifted. And I'm like, me? Not me. At the time, I had no idea how to translate psychic in my own language. We didn't have a word for it. We still don't have a word for it. We just borrowed it from the English language. And in my country, the only people that would go around reading the palm or doing tarot, I had never met anybody else except for gypsies. And I understand now growing up, and I'm more mature, and I met many people from different cultures and many backgrounds. I understand that at the time that was very racist of us to think that gypsies do that. Okay. And I'm like, what? And then somebody told me she was a famous psychic from Canada, and she was charging so much money. And she kept talking to me about a past life and stuff. Again, I had no understanding. How do people look at somebody and they start telling you your past life?
Past life, exactly, yes.
And she's like, you got to do this. So it was part of homework. If we are not embracing our own gifts, how can you give advice to somebody else to become an engineer? Or to become a physicist, or to become a doctor or an artist. So it took me about a year to kind of wrap my mind around it and to understand that this is a profession. Okay, you get money for it. Yes, there are people who don't like psychics, but it's still a profession that is respected among certain circles.
Well, I take it this way too. If you don't like psychics, what you are is in fear of gifts, because we all are gifted. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I believe that everybody is intuitive. We are born with our sixth sense, intuitive and psychic. To me, it feels like these people are repressing, suppressing their own intuition. And if they cannot accept their own intuition, why should they accept it in someone else?
Anybody else's, exactly. And that's the limiting fear. Yes.
Yeah. So learning face reading, it taught me to be me, because I was afraid. I didn't understand until I understood. There was nothing harmful to it. If people come to me, okay, I made myself available. If people come to, only people who like that are going to come to me. Haters are not going to come to me. They're going to look around. And I understood, as you said, they were very afraid, very, very afraid. However, it turns out that in my own practice, a lot of people who are skeptics and a lot of people who have never done anything like an intuitive reading before, they came to me for the first time and they never left, because they told me I turned them around. Because I was also going through the same thing as that. I'm like, I'm just learning this, and I need a feedback from you from, after some time, because I need to know whether what I'm studying, what I'm learning, is actually happening. I'm like, I need to, I need to know, because I'm trying to discover this as well. So, and I'm still trying to discover. I still like to get feedback. Okay, I'm curious. For me, it's like curiosity pushed me to find out more.
Right. So I'm going to change gears on you. Let's talk a little bit about tarot. In my studies of tarot, what I didn't know and what people don't realize is that many people have been playing with tarot decks their whole lives and don't even know it.
And we don't know, yeah.
And we don't even know it. And I say that with all conviction, because if you play cards, you're playing with tarot, period.
That was, the playing cards were used at first for that. And then his last name was Whitey. Unfortunately, it's silly, but I can't remember his name. He's the first one centuries ago who created the very first deck. And it was like a psychological journey of the human mind. Like the tarot cards, if you look at them, it's just this, when you're little, how you think, and then you get to your teenage years, and then you mature. It's like basically a psychological journey, because in many ways, spirituality on the metaphysical world is connected to the field of psychology. I've met psychologists, okay, who do tarot or who do other healing forms. Or, it was hypnosis at first, and then they tapped into somebody's deeper consciousness and past lifetimes, and then they discovered so much more. The difference between tarot reading and the Akashic reading, because this is a question that I get frequently, is with the tarot reading, that is coming from your own psychic ability, and it's coming from the belly area, from your belly button. If you are doing a tarot reading and you take your dominant hand, if the right hand is your dominant hand, the hand that you write with, you place it over your belly or closer to your belly, you would feel this energy. Okay, that's where the information is coming from. And you also have to use your own ability to interpret the cards. And you have to be open to listen. If you're getting messages from your spirit guides, you have to be open, to attune, to listen to that. You take a picture and you basically interpret the picture. The first thing that you see in the picture, what draws your attention? In the Akashic records, we are not allowed to interpret anything. You are basically like a phone, like an interpreter. Okay, you are just it's like translating French to Italian.
Yeah.
Okay, or it's like translating, Arabic to English. So I don't have to look for any interpretation. I'm just a channel. Okay, I'm just a messenger. Okay, here's what I hear, word per word. Here's what I see, word per word.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
And you can also channel tarot cards. And I have noticed a difference. If somebody's advertising a channel deck and I pick up that deck, the message, you are so connected to each and every picture. You are so connected to the images. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, I saw this in my dream. Or it's like the symbols in each card of the deck. You connect to it. They are familiar to your soul. okay, versus another deck that is more connected you are allowed to create decks out of your mental ability, you
Right.
create your own, but I notice a huge difference between something that is channeled and something that is not channeled. They both work, okay, but when it's channeled, is the connection is so much stronger.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about your approach to your modalities, because to go from tarot, Chinese medicine to Akashic records, these are modalities that are not.
I was looking for something because when I was a little girl, I felt like something was talking to me. I was very afraid of it, but then it would happen. And they were talking about me living abroad. And I'm like, this was a time when nobody could wrap their head around leaving the country.
Mhm.
Or we had like a very bad image about foreign countries because that's what we were taught. Capitalism is bad. And I keep getting this sense like, oh, you're not going to stay here. You're going to go to school somewhere else. And for some reason, I mean, I still had no concept where America was or how it was. I had this sense of me ending up in England somewhere. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
But it was very scary, but it was very constant. It was very constant. And I kept telling everybody, especially my classmates, I wish there was one book. You read that one book and you know everything there is to know. Science, chemistry, foreign languages. So I desire for this book to exist. And then on YouTube, I did discover Edgar Casey, the sleeping cat, and he was talking about the Akashic records. So now that I am more mature in my spirituality, I understand that that message found me. I didn't found the message. Okay, I was meant to listen to that. And then I discovered people apparently have courses, and they would call them at the time, these were like underground courses. People will not teach spirituality or alchemy in the open, especially in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, they have that part of New England where they burn them to the stake as witches for witchcraft. So you had like a tradition in Salem, Massachusetts. So, and I discovered this video, and the lady was saying, there's a prayer. So there's different methods to open the Akashic records, and every method calls for like a sacred, secret prayer that you have to get trained in. So it's basically different prayers. However, I also got trained by another teacher in, you simply put the intention and the Akashic records open. You still need to be trained because you need to learn the energy. You need to feel the difference. You need to learn what's right and what's wrong and how to use them. If you don't know that you're opening the records, you are going to find out later that you just open the records, but a training is necessary because you have to know the rules. You have to know how to use them for good and not for bad. Right now, the Akashic records would like everybody or as many people to be able to access their records as a way to help humanity, but there are also people who are going to use them for the wrong reasons, to control other people. So the Akashic records are very, very, very protective of me, okay, the practitioner. They are very protective of the clients. In the Akashic records, we may ask about other people, but in the context of how this other person is connected to you, we cannot ask, what is this other person? Okay, their sole purpose and all of that, because it's we are interfering with their karma if we do that. Okay, there are rules of privacy that apply. So right now, they would love for humanity to have more access to the Akashic records so that utilize them properly and they learn. Okay, and more people after the pandemic suddenly became more open. They understood that there are greater forces at work. A lot of people were drawn to do something more, to help or to be more spiritual or simply to understand, to be curious about other forces and other ethers. Okay. But we still have to be careful. We have to accept the rules, understand when something is not appropriate for me to know or for the client to know. The Lords of the Akashic records will not give you that information.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
But we have to
You
be careful not to misuse it, because humanity has been known to misuse our power from the creation of the atomic.
no way, right? As we know this
Yeah.
very, very
So the
well.
person who
Yeah.
created the atomic bomb, it was never his intention that
No, but they didn't
it
think
was
about the
going to be
ultimate
end
way that,
up being used.
yeah,
Other people used it in that way. So we always have to be careful.
conscious.
Knowledge is power, and we have to be very careful with that power.
So you have spoken about all types of ways to connect and channel and the mediumship type scenarios. Do you work with any vibratory or sound?
I would put it in a different way. It's
Mhm.
basically you just sit and observe the
Okay.
clouds, how they create different shapes in the sky. That could be meaningful to you. Repetitive numbers, repetitive songs that you keep
Oh yeah.
hearing. Like if I'm going on YouTube and the same advertisement keeps popping up in every video, there's
That's enough.
somebody who wants me to listen to that. Even though I may be getting pissed off, I'm like, same thing again. And the same thing again.
And the
For
numbers being
yeah.
repetitive, exactly the
So
same thing. If the
repetitive
number pops up,
signs, repetitive
mhm.
signs could be a repetitive song that pops out always, or a repetitive video.
Yeah.
So notice the technology, in other words, something you listen to on your phone, on your TV, magazines. Birds are a huge sign. When I open my own Akashic record, there's all sorts of birds, real birds, imaginary birds, at least imaginary for us here. Maybe they exist somewhere else. Birds in nature. So nature in itself has messages. So clouds, particularly birds, okay, they could be giving you a sign to something. Dreams, huge in dreams.
Okay.
There are people who depending on you, how you connect to your dreams. If what you see in your dream exactly this is what happens, so that's how you connect to the dreams. No need for interpretation. There are people who would see colors and numbers and they need an interpretation, what 7 means in their dream, so on and so forth. So dreams can be very personalized. Just because 7 in my dream means this doesn't mean that it's going to have the same meaning in your dreams. There are
Right.
people who specialize in dream interpretation. Okay, and dreams have 2 dimensions: the psychological interpretation of it and the metaphysical interpretation of it, and they are both valid. I'm wondering if there are about 11 different signs. Okay, you just sit and observe. You don't even need to use your intuition. They're there. You just have to notice.
That's
You
right.
just have to notice. Animals, our pets, did you know how dogs can sense what is happening with your body chemistry? If your sugar, for people who are diabetic, is about to drop, your dog will start barking and you are making weird movements. That is a signal. Okay, and the difference between dogs and cats: dogs are usually drawn to a place that has good energy. If that is your dog favorite spot, that's where most of the good energy is in the house. If your cat has a favorite spot, that's most of the negative energy is located in your house.
Interesting. Now, why are cats drawn to negative energy?
Yeah, like cats would chase after people who don't like cats.
Okay. Okay.
And it's like after a while you have to love them because they're like, oh. What else? Sometimes technology can be funny. I have a touchscreen computer, the laptop that I'm using right now. And sometimes, I thought I had to close the window or something, and suddenly it just starts playing. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
also people who have crossed over on the other side, our loved ones in heaven, do communicate with us in that way. If you don't pay attention and they're trying to get to your attention, don't be surprised if, you thought you turned something off and suddenly is on. Okay.
Right.
On the other side, when a soul dies on the other side, they get trained how to communicate with us. They are again on another spiritual journey.
Yes.
Okay. They also have to do work on the other side. They also get elevated on the other side. and they learn how to communicate with us. It's not a verbal communication, okay? For sometimes it's just a feeling, or they show up in your dreams. And when you do mediumship, it's not about how many details they give you. Oh, your car had this color, and because these are unnecessary details, they have no meaning. The communication would be, boom, directly something that is deeply meaningful to you that nobody knows. You are struggling with a question. You have never spoken about it. And suddenly you get a message from a loved one, and it is exactly, the guidance that you needed. So when you get a mediumship session with anyone, and there is a dimension in the Akashic Records for mediumship, okay? They come to observe, they don't interfere. I ask them personally if anybody has a message for my client to ask permission, and then I would say to my client, there is a dimension for mediumship where our loved ones, either come to observe or to give you a message. I need your permission. Are you open to this? Can this person give you the message? And I usually, in my mind, okay, I ask that soul to give me like 3 signs to confirm that that's the grandmother or that's their father. Okay. Right. And that's how it happens. So to me, mostly something that you feel. It's like your heart would never lie to you. When you do an Akashic Records reading, it's not a logical thing. Oh, in 15th century, I used to live in London by the deck in this place, and you start Googling where is the place. It doesn't work like that, because there are also different dimensions. And sometimes timelines fall on top on one another. They kind of merge. It's not like one straight life. Okay. So this incarnation sometimes could be like intertwined, and your heart tells you something. The moment I describe somebody's past lifetime, boom, you get the feeling in your heart that something here feels familiar. It's like reading a story. When you're a child and you read a story and you resonate with it, it's just in a different center. It's just in a different time zone. And I have noticed I had 2 bad readings from other people. The first time I was devastated for like 2 or 3 days. Okay. So it was something about a past lifetime. I did not connect to it, but my heart did something. I could not explain the feeling. So there was this heaviness for 2 or 3 days. When you do a tarot reading, when you do an intuitive reading, I don't care what type of reading it is, you have to deliver it in such a manner that you are not harming the client. You have to leave them better than you found them. The client needs to have that aha moment. Okay, so when the client comprehends, understands deeply what it is, naturally a certain healing happens. Even in your ordinary life, the moment you understood something, boom, that heaviness is not there anymore. Okay, if you have a problem with your relationship with your mother or your father, the moment you understood why they acted that way, how broken they are, how they don't know any better because that's how they were treated, they don't know how to be a parent because they still struggle in being a child themselves. Okay, they didn't have a fabulous upbringing or childhood, so they're traumatized. They don't know how to be a parent. Okay, the moment you understand that, there's a certain healing. Okay, and with the parents, we decide who we are going to have experiences in our life. We decide who our mother and father is going to be. We have a soul contract with them. We decide who we're going to marry, fall in love, have children with. But when we get incarnated, I could be holding my part of the bargain. Doesn't mean that the other person is going to be a fabulous parent like the intention was, but maybe it didn't turn out to be that way.
Right.
Okay, so it's about learning that lesson. I don't have to have karma with you anymore. I learned my lesson. Okay, because it's, people have problems, no way I was going to choose, this horrible husband or this horrible relationship, but we do it before we are born. And then once we are born, it's a different dimension. We're not going to remember or be even aware that soul contracts exist. But your soul has already made a plan. Where are you going to find success in life? What's going to bring you happiness? Who are the people that are going to influence your life either in a negative or in a positive way? Many people have something negative happen to them and they it pushed them to do something positive for themselves. That's why I'm saying it's not energy. It's not necessarily good or bad per se. It's how you use it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have many good intentions for somebody, but the result could be drastic. And I realized that. I realized that with Joe Biden. He gave the order for the American troops to come back from Afghanistan. It was Afghanistan. I had no idea. I never dealt with politics. I never looked into it. I hated war. I know the war is wrong. I had no idea that they had to keep the troops in Afghanistan to keep the peace, because I had never studied that part of history. Like, I didn't think it was important. It didn't affect me. But when the troops came back in America, look what happened. Taliban took over. They had no more peace. Okay, so something that me personally I perceived, okay, why should we send troops to another country? It's not our business, you know, it's war. It wasn't war, it was there to keep peace. Okay, so you can have all good intentions, okay, but the result could be catastrophic, because again, there's karma involved. And you are responsible for the way how emotionally you react to it. Some people hold on to grudge. Some people, you know, have a very good ability to heal and move on. Okay, so it's usually around 40s. The first wave is around 40s. If you have any psychological or emotional issues that you never had a chance to deal with them, we are busy, right? Life is go, 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 especially in the United States. Life will always give you an opportunity in the decade of the 40s to kind of deal with that. It could be the first time maybe you seek a psychologist, or maybe you do a reading, like you are looking for something deeper. Okay. Right. Yeah, okay. Like many people in the decade of the 40s, they would make, you know, some drastic change to their life. They are finally, you know, becoming more authentic, free to be. And I call this the I don't give a shit movement. Pardon me. I tell my friends, this is I don't give a shit movement. Okay, all right. So if I want to do something, I'm just going to go ahead and do it, because up to that point, we are always concerned, you know, sometimes out of respect. Doesn't mean that you are suffering from a lower self-esteem, but we are taught, you know, how this reflects on your family, or, you know, who may be affected by what you do, or are people going to comprehend this? Now at this point is like, I don't care. I'm going to do me. I want to do spiritual work, I'm going to do, I don't care about your opinion anymore. Okay. Exactly. So you're not going to be in the same way, like always putting your makeup on and this. Hey, before it was a joy for me. I loved it. I didn't care about other people's opinion, but now it's like, yeah, it's still me, you know. it's like whatever.
Oh my God, I love it. You were just
okay. So I have some white hair now. Okay, they're showing up. Everybody has them. What's the big deal? Exactly. You know, I'm going to be shocked. Ooh, this girl is what so okay. And then in the 60s, if you haven't had a chance to heal yourself, to deal with the psychological aspect or the emotional self, again in your 60s, life will give you another opportunity to deal with that. So life is always about providing opportunities, and that's why from time to time we seem to attract a cycle of events or a cycle of people. Is the same kind of personality we attract. Is like the universe is testing us. Do you need more healing? Or you understood the lesson, so you're not going to mess with this type of personality again, okay? Or similar events seem to happen. So they seem bad. You're like, oh, this is happening, you know. Why, you know, people are after me again, you know, being so mean to me. It's life giving you an opportunity to comprehend, do you need another healing? Okay, or you may discover, just like me, you just started your own revolution. I don't give a shit movement. And I'm like, I don't care. Hey, there's nothing I can do for it. It's about you. It's not about me. If not, you know, nothing would please a person. There's nothing I can do about it. You know, some people are just very bitter. I don't know how else to describe. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like...
This has been absolutely wonderful. You know, and I'm looking at the time, and we're coming up on our time. And so how can people reach you? How can people have a session with you?
Yeah, you can always email me at amalightworker@gmail.com, or you may contact me through my website, www.amalightworker.com. I do have a YouTube channel by the name Ama Lightworker. So if you go on YouTube, just search for Ama Lightworker and my channel will pop up.
That's phenomenal, Alma. It's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing
No,
your heart.
thank you for having this opportunity. I love talking about the Akashic Records. I love talking about spirituality because nobody taught me. So I love, answering to questions, even if some questions could be very difficult or very controversial. I kind of like going there because I am also learning.
I love it. Well, you've met Alma. I'm a light worker, and please do follow up. She will do wonders in your readings and in your heart. And thank you so, so much, Alma.
No, thank
And
you. Very thankful to have this moment in time to share with you.
absolutely. And then to everybody out there, thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye-bye.